Amber lights flickered over a deserted campus lot. Four men cornered three young women, one waving a broken bottle, another blocking the car door. The girl begged, voices cracking, trapped with nowhere to run. Then footsteps echoed. A lone woman stepped from the shadows, calm, deliberate. They laughed, certain she was helpless. But in 12 seconds, everything would change. Because Jordan Hale wasn't just a bystander. She was trained for nights like this. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Welcome to Grateful Stories, where tales of compassion and kindness are told. Let's uncover what really happened. The bell above the diner door jingled softly. Jordan Hale stepped out into the crisp Ohio night, pulling her jacket tighter as the wind swept down Main Street. Behind her, Lauren Price lingered a moment in the doorway, smiling with the kind of warmth only old friends carry. Same time next month, Lauren asked, already knowing the answer. Jordan gave a short nod, easy and calm. Wouldn't miss it. They had kept this tradition alive for years. Same diner, same corner booth, same ritual of talking through life's detours. Tonight was no different, except Jordan felt heavier than usual, though she didn't say why. She watched Lauren drive off, taillights fading into the night, before turning toward her own car parked near Hamilton State University. Most people use the main road back to the visitor lot, a broad curve around the heart of campus. Jordan preferred shortcuts. She knew one through a cluster of academic buildings, quiet and efficient. 10 minutes saved was 10 minutes closer to the comfort of her apartment and the book waiting on her nightstand. The campus at night had its own rhythm. Leaves skittered along brick paths. Sodium lights glowed a tired orange, humming faintly overhead. Students passed in twos and threes, shoulders hunched, voices low, laughter breaking through in bursts. Jordan blended in with ease. Dark jeans, plain jacket, hair tied back. Nothing that drew a second glance. Anyone who saw her would guess graduate student, maybe faculty assistant. No one would think combat veteran. No one would guess Army Ranger. And that was exactly how Jordan wanted it. She checked her phone. 9:46 p.m. If the shortcut held, she'd be in her car within 10 minutes. She could already imagine the soft click of her apartment lamp, the steam of hot tea. It was an ordinary night, and that was fine with her. The path narrowed between the psychology building and the Center for Languages. Here the noise of campus life thinned. Only the sound of her boots on the pavement, steady and sure. A row of emergency call boxes stood like silent guardians, their blue lights glowing. Jordan noted them automatically, a habit she couldn't shake, but kept walking. Past the courtyard fountain, the lot came into view. Rows of cars lined under tall amber lamps. For a second, Jordan felt relief. The shortcut worked. She was almost home. Then she heard it. Not laughter, not conversation. A sound that made her spine tight in a high, sharp cry, quickly muffled. Then another. The kind of sound that never came from a friendly gathering. Jordan stopped in the shadow of the mathematics building. She let her breathing slow, her senses sharpen. The cries came from the far corner of the lot, near a cluster of sedans. She moved closer, careful, blending with the dark. The scene resolved. Four men in their 20s had cornered three young women. The women were pressed against a silver car, backpacks clutched to their chests, eyes wide with panic. The men stood in a semicircle, blocking every way out. One man waved a shattered beer bottle, its jagged edge glinting under the light. Another leaned against the car door, blocking it shut, smirking as the women pulled helplessly at the handle. The other two hovered, jeering, their voices thick with alcohol. Jordan felt her stomach knot. She'd seen this posture before, predators closing in, confidence drawn from numbers, certain no one would stop them, the kind of certainty that made them reckless. Her first instinct was procedure. She slipped her phone out, thumb hovering over 911. But her mind ran the math. Best response time on campus, 5 minutes. Maybe more if patrols were across town. 5 minutes was a lifetime here. One of the girls cried out, "Please, just let us go." Her voice cracked, raw with fear. The man with the bottle laughed, thrusting it closer, enjoying the way she flinched. Jordan closed her eyes briefly. She thought of how easy it would be to keep walking, to stay a bystander. She could get in her car, drive away, never be part of this. But her body had already decided. The calm in her chest, the weight in her stance, none of it belonged to someone who ignored danger. She slid the phone back into her pocket. From the shadows, she stepped forward. Her footsteps echoed across the asphalt. Steady, measured, deliberate. "Hey!" Her voice carried across the lot, firm and clear. "Leave them alone!" The four men turned as one, surprise flashing, then twisting into amusement. The leader, tall and broad with a cap turned backward, smiled in cruel confidence. "Mind your business. Lady, keep walking." Jordan didn't break stride. She kept moving toward them, posture even, hands loose at her sides. "I'm making it my business." The girl's eyes widened at her approach. One whispered frantically, "Don't just call security," but Jordan's gaze never left the men. The one with the bottle sneered, swinging it casually as if daring her. Another spread his arms, mocking. "What? You gonna fight us? One woman against four?" Jordan stopped 10 feet away, close enough to act, far enough to assess. Her voice stayed calm. "Last chance. Walk away, and no one gets hurt." They laughed. The sound was loud, harsh, bouncing off the cars. To them, she looked like nothing, just another civilian, foolish enough to step into their game. The leader swaggered forward, leaving the women pinned. He moved with the easy arrogance of someone who had never been challenged. "What are you going to do, call campus cops?" He reached out, hand outstretched to grab her arm. Jordan's eyes stayed locked on him. Her body didn't move yet, but every muscle was poised. She was no ordinary woman on a quiet campus path. She was something else entirely, something these men had no idea they had just invited into their night. The man in the backwards cap grinned wide, flashing teeth under the amber light. His name was Travis, though Jordan didn't know it yet. What she did know was the weight of his footsteps, the angle of his shoulders, the careless swing of his bottle hand. He came close enough to smell of stale beer and cheap cologne. "Big mistake," he sneered, reaching for her arm. His hand never landed. Jordan shifted once, smooth and decisive. Her left hand deflected his wrist aside, her right elbow snapping up in a brutal arc. It drove into the nerve cluster beneath his ear with clinical precision. Travis's body folded. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed to the asphalt with a heavy thud, the beer bottle clattering harmlessly away. The parking lot fell silent. The three girls froze, wide-eyed. The other men stared at their fallen leader, the confidence bleeding from their faces. Dylan, wiry and quick, shook himself first. She sucker punched him. He barked, as if saying it would make it true. He lunged forward, both arms out, aiming to tackle. Jordan pivoted, guiding his weight past her center. In one motion, she twisted his arm into a joint lock and slammed him chest first to the ground. The air rushed out of his lungs in a ragged groan. He writhed, his shoulder grinding against the pavement. "Stop! Stop!" he gasped, the words muffled by asphalt. Jordan released him and stepped back, already shifting her focus. Brent circled wide, thinking speed would help where strength had failed. He charged from behind, aiming to slam her into the car. Jordan's stance changed in an instant. She caught his momentum, dipped her hip, and lifted. The move sent him sailing over her shoulder, weightless for a split second before crashing flat onto his back. The impact rattled through the lot. Brent coughed violently, clutching at his ribs, unable to rise. His confidence was gone with the air in his lungs. That left Cole, taller than the rest, bleach blonde hair catching the sodium glow. He hesitated. His sneakers shuffled backward across the pavement. He hadn't expected this. None of them had. Jordan's eyes locked on him, steady and calm. Backing away is smart, she said, but running isn't. Cole's jaw clenched. The words stung. Rage won over fear. His hand darted to his pocket. The girls cried out when they saw the glint of steel. Hannah screamed, "He's got a knife!" The blade snapped open, short but deadly in close quarters. Cole swung low, aiming for Jordan's midsection. Her leg shot out like a whip. The heel of her boot struck his wrist, bone meeting bone. The knife spun through the air, clattering across the pavement. Before he could recover, Jordan followed with a kick to his chest. The force drove him backward, his body slamming against the hood of a car before collapsing to the ground. The lot was silent again. Only the fountain trickled faintly in the distance. 4 men sprawled across the asphalt, groaning or motionless. 12 seconds. That was all it had taken. The 3 girls huddled together, hands over their mouths. Shock and awe fought on their faces. They had gone from prey to survivors in less than half a minute, all because a stranger had stepped from the shadows. Jordan exhaled once, steady. Her pulse was calm, her breathing measured. She scanned the perimeter rooftops, walkways, shadows just as she had done overseas. Old instincts never dulled. She pulled her phone free, thumb dialing quickly. "Campus security," she said into the receiver, voice even. "I'm at the mathematics building lot. 4 male assailants down. 3 female students need immediate assistance." She ended the call and slipped the phone back. The sirens would take minutes. The night still stretched around them, heavy and uncertain. Jordan didn't relax. She stood balanced, eyes shifting between the groaning bodies and the trembling students. Her posture spoke without words the danger had passed, but she was still ready. Cole stirred, clutching his chest, coughing. He looked up at her with something that wasn't anger anymore. It was fear, the kind born when the world reveals its teeth. He stayed down. Dylan lay on his side, arm cradled close, eyes darting between her and his unconscious leader. He muttered curses under his breath, but made no move to rise. Brent groaned from the ground, rolling to his side and clutching his ribs. Each breath came shallow, ragged. He understood now this wasn't a fight he could win. Travis remained on his back, unconscious but breathing, his chest rising and falling in slow rhythm. The bottle lay shattered near a tire, forgotten. Jordan's gaze moved back to the 3 girls. Emily clutched Hannah's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Rachel still shook, whispering. What just happened? Jordan didn't answer. Explanations could come later. What mattered was control of the scene. Keep everyone safe until backup arrived. That was the mission now. She shifted position, keeping the attackers in her line of sight. Every muscle stayed coiled, calm but ready. It was the stance of someone who had spent years in places where hesitation cost lives. The girls exchanged glances, the shock slowly giving way to realization. This woman wasn't just lucky. She was trained. Somewhere in the distance, a faint wail rose, the sound of sirens cutting through the night. Jordan caught it first, her head tilting slightly. Reinforcements were on the way. Still, she didn't let her guard drop. Sirens were promise, not presence. Until officers stepped into the lot, responsibility was hers. She glanced once at the unconscious leader, then at the knife glinting on the asphalt. Without a word, she kicked the blade farther away, sending it skidding under a parked car. Her eyes lifted again, sweeping the shadows. Campus life continued faintly beyond the buildings. Laughter from a dorm window. Footsteps crossing distant paths, but here, the night held stillness. Jordan stood in the center of it, a quiet sentinel. 12 seconds of violence had changed everything. Now came the wait, the moment between storm and resolution. The girls leaned against the car, clinging to each other, watching her with a mix of fear and gratitude. She didn't meet their eyes. She kept scanning, steady and detached, because the job wasn't finished. The world around her dimmed to essentials, 4 threats neutralized, 3 civilians stable, reinforcements inbound. Her mind ticked through it like a checklist. The sirens grew louder, bouncing off brick and glass. Flashing lights would soon spill across the lot. But until then, Jordan Hale remained the lone barrier between danger and safety. Red and blue lights broke across the edges of the lot. Sirens faded as security vehicles screeched to a stop. Doors opened, boots hit asphalt, and armed officers spread quickly, scanning for threats. Chief Daniel Mercer stepped out last. He had been in this work for 2 decades, long enough to recognize chaos when he heard it on the radio. Still, nothing in his training prepared him for what waited. 4 young men sprawled on the ground, subdued but alive. Not a drop of blood marked the pavement. Nearby, 3 college students clung together, shaken but unhurt, and standing between them all was a woman in jeans and a plain jacket. Her posture was calm, almost casual, but her eyes tracked every movement like a soldier on watch. Mercer's gaze locked on her. He recognized the stance, the balance, the readiness to strike again if needed. It wasn't the way civilians stood. It was the way trained operators carried themselves. He approached carefully, hand resting near his belt. "Ma'am," he called, voice steady. "Are you the one who made the call?" The woman turned slightly, enough to show composure without surrender. "Yes, sir. I'm Jordan Hale." Her voice was clear, unshaken. The name struck him like a blow. He studied her face, then glanced back at his notes. Something stirred deep in memory, something he thought had been buried in the sands of Helmand Province. His throat tightened. "Jordan Hale," he repeated slowly. The noise of radios and students faded from his mind. Instead, he heard another sound, thunderous, violent, from years ago. The explosion of a buried IED tearing through steel. It had been 2016, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Mercer was staff sergeant then, part of a convoy winding through a narrow village road. The blast flipped his vehicle like a toy. The world went fire and dust, shrapnel tearing through the air. He hit the ground hard. His legs snapped, ribs cracked. Every breath was fire. Then came the gunfire, relentless, surrounding. Pinned beside the overturned Humvee, Mercer had thought it was over. Bullets sliced past, dirt spraying with each impact. He could barely move. Blood poured down his side. His radio crackled useless static. And then he heard it, a woman's voice, calm and unshakable, cutting through the chaos. "I'm coming to you. Keep your head down." He remembered lifting his eyes just enough to see her silhouette against smoke. Small frame, rifle braced, moving with impossible precision. She advanced alone, rounds leaving her barrel in controlled bursts. Driving back the ambush, she reached him, crouched low. "Can you move?" Mercer had tried, teeth gritted against the pain. His leg buckled instantly. "Negative. I'm done." "No," she answered, tone hard as steel. "You're not." She hauled him up in a fireman's carry, his weight nothing against her determination. With one arm, she held him steady. With the other, she fired back at advancing enemies, never breaking rhythm. Step by step, she dragged him through the kill zone. 300 yards of open ground, rounds snapping past. She never faltered, never slowed. Mercer remembered flashes, the grit of sand in his mouth, the sting of smoke in his eyes, the steady beat of her voice in his ear. "Almost there. Stay with me." Then the extraction point appeared. Medics rushed forward, pulling him from her shoulders. He tried to hold on, to see her face, but pain swallowed him whole. When he woke in the hospital, she was gone. Her call sign, Falcon, was all he had. Her name never appeared in reports. The incident was classified, wrapped tight in red tape. For years, he wondered if she had been real or just a fevered vision. A guardian who appeared from nowhere, then vanished back into the fight. And now, under campus lights, with 4 attackers groaning at her feet, Mercer knew she was real. She was standing 15 feet away. His breath caught. He straightened unconsciously, years of discipline snapping back. The memory of her voice matched perfectly with the one that had just introduced herself. Jordan Hale was Falcon. The girls whispered behind him, voices trembling with awe. Officers moved cautiously, still piecing the scene together. But Mercer's world had narrowed to one woman. He stepped forward, boots heavy on the asphalt. His chest rose and fell once, steadying himself. Then he came to attention. The salute was sharp, perfect, the kind reserved for those who earned respect in fire. Jordan's expression didn't change, but for the first time that night, her eyes softened. She returned the salute with crisp precision, a mirror of his. For a moment, the parking lot disappeared. There were no students, no suspects, no flashing lights, only two soldiers acknowledging what had passed between them long ago. "Falcon," Mercer said quietly. The word tasted of dust and blood and gratitude left unspoken. Jordan inclined her head slightly. "Looks like you made it home." Emotion swelled in his chest. He had spent years searching for closure, for a name, for the chance to say thank you. And now fate had brought her back. Not in a war zone, but on a campus in Ohio. 6 years ago, Mercer said, voice low. "You carried me out of hell. Tonight, you just saved 3 more lives." Jordan gave the faintest shrug, the kind soldiers use when credit feels undeserved. "I did what anyone should have done." But Mercer knew better. He had seen men freeze in battle, seen fear paralyze even seasoned fighters. What she had done then and what she had done tonight wasn't ordinary. It was who she was. Around them, officers began cuffing the attackers, reading rights, clearing the scene. Students were escorted toward waiting vehicles. The world resumed its normal pace, yet Mercer remained, hands still at his side, eyes on the woman who had shaped the course of his life. He wanted to ask 1,000 questions. Where she had been, why she had vanished, how she had ended up here. But Jordan stood steady, gaze sweeping the lot, ever watchful. The answers could wait. What mattered was clear enough. She was Falcon, and she was still out there, doing what she had always done, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Police cruisers rolled in, lights pulsing across the lot. The scene became a blur of uniforms, radios, and clipped commands. Officers fanned out quickly, securing the perimeter, moving with urgency but not alarm. The 4 attackers were pulled up one by one. Cold metal cuffs clicked around their wrists. Protests faded into groans as they were led toward waiting vehicles. Their swagger was gone, replaced by the hollow look of men who realized they had lost everything in less than a minute. Emily, Rachel, and Hannah were escorted gently to another patrol car. An officer draped a blanket across Hannah's shoulders. Though the night wasn't cold, their faces showed exhaustion and disbelief. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving them pale and shaky. Jordan stayed where she was, centered and still. When asked, she gave her account plainly, voice even, each word clipped and factual. No embellishment, no drama, just the sequence of events, precise as a report written on duty. Chief Mercer listened nearby, arms folded. He watched how she spoke measured, careful, giving only what was necessary. Her restraint was as impressive as her skill. When she finished, an officer collected her statement. Jordan signed with a steady hand, then stepped back into the shadows, as though eager to disappear again. Mercer followed. "Jordan," he said quietly, away from the others. "You know we could use someone like you on campus security. Your instincts, your training, it's exactly what we need." She looked at him, calm as ever. "I'm not searching for that kind of work right now." He wanted to push, but her tone left no room. She had drawn a line, and he respected it. Still, he couldn't let go without trying once more. "The offer stands. If you change your mind, you'll have a place here." Jordan gave the faintest nod, then glanced back at the girls being guided into a cruiser. "Make sure they're cared for," she said. "They will be," Mercer promised. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Jordan turned, pulling her keys from her pocket. She walked toward her car without haste, her stride carrying the same quiet strength that had defined every step of the night. What she didn't see was the phone raised from behind a parked SUV. A student, drawn by the commotion, had filmed the entire fight. The shaky video captured the impossible one woman dropping four men in 12 seconds. By morning, the clip was everywhere, shared in group chats, posted to forums, uploaded to social media. Within hours, the Hamilton State parking lot fight became legend. Students whispered about the mystery woman. Some said she was special forces. Others swore she was an undercover cop. Exaggeration spread she fought 10 men. She used secret military moves. She carried no fear, but the footage told enough of the truth. The efficiency, the speed, the unshakable calm. People replayed the moment of the knife flying from Cole's hand, the smoothness of the throw that sent Brent crashing down. It was undeniable. She wasn't ordinary. Emily, Rachel, and Hannah didn't stay silent either. The next day, they sat together in the student center, still shaken but determined. "We can't just be grateful and move on," Emily said. "We have to do something." Rachel agreed. "We start a self-defense group, weekly training, open to anyone. No one else should feel as helpless as we did." Hannah nodded, her voice steady now. "And I'll write for the campus paper. Not just about what happened, but about why people need to stand up, to fight back when it matters." Their resolve was contagious. Within a week, dozens of students had joined. Flyers appeared across campus empowerment through preparedness, self-defense workshops. Every Thursday, the fight that began with terror now sparked a movement. Meanwhile, Jordan slipped back into anonymity. She didn't respond to messages. She didn't step forward when the school asked for her name. She had given her statement, done her part, and vanished into the background of the city. That night, after everything was over, Mercer lingered in the lot long after the cruisers had gone. He stood where she had stood, where four attackers had fallen like dominoes. He let the weight of it sink in. He pictured her taillights fading into the dark, swallowed by the night road. He knew he might never see her again. His lips pressed together, words unspoken until now. "The world needs people like you, Jordan, even if you'll never call yourself a hero." He thought of Hellman, of the dust and fire, of being carried when he couldn't take another step. He thought of tonight, 3 young women alive because she refused to look away. Somewhere out there, she was driving through the quiet streets, heading back to her apartment. She'd make tea. She'd read her book. To her, it was over. But to the rest of them, it was only beginning. The video didn't stop spreading. Local news picked it up, then regional. By week's end, millions had watched. Comments flooded in admiration, disbelief, speculation. Still, no one found her. She left no trail, no interviews, no social media, no sign she existed at all. It was as if Jordan Hale had stepped from the night just long enough to remind people what courage looked like, then faded back into silence. Mercer carried the truth with him. He knew who she was and what she had done before, but he kept her secret. Some stories were stronger when they stayed in whispers. He looked once more at the empty lot, the faint echo of sirens long gone. His heart swelled with something between pride and grief. Jordan Hale, call sign Falcon, had saved lives again. And just as before, she had vanished. To the world, she was the nameless woman in a viral video. To Mercer, she was the soldier who had carried him out of hell. And somewhere beyond the glow of campus lights, she continued on. Not as a legend, not as a hero, but as herself. A protector who appeared only when needed, leaving no mark except the lives she saved.